everyone. I'm Tommy Teshima, owner and speech language pathologist of Duncan Speech Therapy. And today we have a very special guest with us, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm Kaylee Stearns. I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm the owner of Sensational Steps Therapy. It's a pediatric OT company, and I provide services in West Michigan and also teletherapy for the whole state of Michigan right now. I am a DIR floor time provider. I'm certified in sensory integration, and I treat kids mostly with a very play-based, child-led approach.
Here at Duncan Speech Therapy, we love OTs. I just love them so much. You guys get to do all the fun things.
We love you too.
I have a kiddo who saw me the same day that he saw his OT, and he would always say to me, "Ugh, the OT is so much more fun," because they have the ball pits.
I know we do. We play a lot. That's the beauty of pediatric OT is they're learning and developing through play. So how could you not have fun with that?
Mm-hmm. You said something earlier in your introduction about sensory integration, and that's actually what we're going to talk a little bit about today is sensory regulation, sensory integration, all sorts of good things. So could you just enlighten us a little bit and let us know about what is sensory regulation?
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy to talk about that today because I'm very passionate about that. It's, when we're well regulated, our bodies feel relaxed and they feel calm. We're able to attend better. We're really operating at our best to learn and be successful during the day. So a well-regulated body is also one that can take in and integrate all of those various forms of sensory input that really bombard us throughout the day. So we're taking it in, we're filtering it out, what's not important, ignoring it, and we're really focusing on and processing that sensory information that is important. So really, as you can imagine, it's very important for learning to have a very well-regulated body throughout the day.
I think that I could probably use some sensory regulation help right now. Filtering things coming in, coming out, I don't know. So as far as, because school is coming up, and I think you were talking a lot about just now the importance of sensory regulation and how important it is for learning. What are some things that we can do regardless of maybe the school setting, whether kiddos are going back into the schools or they're at home doing virtual learning? What are some ways that we as the caretakers can help with their regulation?
Yeah, so again, so if we're dysregulated, where our body is not feeling calm, we might start seeing behaviors. So we might see the kid acting kind of antsy. They might have difficulty sitting still. Maybe they're anxious or upset, or the sensory input's a little too much and they're withdrawing. They're frustrated or they're emotional. So these children really are not set up for success for learning because their bodies do not feel right. So to make them feel right, to be more relaxed and to boost that attention, my number one recommendation really is to just build these sensory regulation activities into your day consistently throughout the day, with my number one recommendation being proprioceptive input. Okay, so proprioception is just a sensory system through which we are receiving information about how our body is positioned and how our body is moving. And we receive these, the receptors are stimulated really in our muscles and joints. So if our muscle is stretching and contracting and our joints are pushing and pulling, they're stimulating these receptors and they're sending information to our brain about what our body is doing, how it's positioned. And it also has a very calming effect on our nervous system. So as we know, calm, regulated body, we're better equipped to attend and learn. So how do we get these proprioceptive input opportunities in our day? And the good news really, whether you are at home or at school, these activities or these opportunities are really plentiful, especially in play. So just very naturally occurring during play, such as like friendly wrestling, climbing structures, pushing toys, like pushing cars around, digging in the dirt, pulling wagons, sports like playing soccer outside, swimming, riding bikes, or maybe yoga. So, these opportunities are just everywhere within play. So when you're at home, parents can just make sure there's these little breaks throughout the day that a child can move around, that they can play. For those kids that are going back to school, I know it's a little bit more difficult, but the teachers can just make sure that these opportunities are there at least every hour, with brain breaks, opportunities to just do exercises within their chair or just out of their chair. It doesn't have to be this whole big movement program. Really, it's as simple as, let's do a few chair exercises where we put our hands together in this like prayer position and we push and we hold it for 10 seconds, because our muscles are working really hard right now, and there's that pushing and contracting of the muscles and joints, and it's sending those calming vibes to our brain. We can hook our hands and pull out, pull for 10 seconds. Do a chair push-up, and hold the chair push-up for 10 seconds. So these aren't activities that require a whole ton of movement, and they can be done right at your chair, sitting in the classroom to regulate. So it's really important that the teachers are aware of these, the benefits of these opportunities, and that they insert them into the day. Because I believe it's, kindergartners are able to focus for about 15 minutes. And I think, the minimum is about 18 minutes for a first grader. And these kids are working longer than 15 minutes and trying to focus on one activity. So it's really important to build those opportunities into the day.
When I think of proprioceptive input, I always think of like weighted stuff too. Was that accurate?
Yes. Yep. Well, there's two different things, like weighted, like playing and interacting with weighted objects is heavy work. So it is making your muscles and joints, work. That push and pull is there. So we would call it heavy work, and it is very regulating, definitely stimulates that proprioceptive system. Weighted as in like a weighted blanket, a weighted lap pad, that actually does stimulate the proprioceptive system as well. If you imagine like a massage, like a deep tissue massage, and they're needing that muscle. So they are contracting and pulling on that muscle. So it is providing that proprioceptive input. So that deep pressure is it's making your body feel good. It's making them feel regulated. And so that would be the same thing with something like a weighted blanket, or a child that's sitting at their desk can have a weighted lap pad or a weighted animal. And it's giving that calming deep pressure on their lap that's calming their whole body.
I just think about my adult friends that benefit from this, not just the kids. Especially during COVID, the weighted blanket sales have gone through the roof, I'm sure.
I've seen that. I totally understand that. They're so cozy.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to buy,
Yeah.
a weighted lap pad or a weighted blanket either, because some of the best deep pressure proprioceptive activities are big hugs.
Mm-hmm.
Big hug from your parent. I know during COVID, you're not going to be hugging on your teacher, but you could also do a self-hug. That's a nice way to give yourself that deep pressure. It's very calming to give yourself a big hug, hold it there for a while, take some nice deep breaths, maybe say something loving to yourself, like I love myself. Just those very like self-loving activities and phrases really do help to lift our spirits and make us feel more calm. Mm-hmm. So you can also receive proprioceptive input actually by using small muscles. You don't have to do these big muscle movements. We can actually just use our fingers if we want. Just anything with our hand that provides some resistance, like Sarah putty. It really works our muscles and joints in our fingers. Clothespins, if you've ever done like a clothespin activity, those provide a lot of resistance. And then there's also a lot of things you can do with your mouth. Because we have a bunch of muscles and joints in our mouth, our jaw, our tongue is a big muscle. So we can do straw activities. where we do cotton ball races. We're blowing through a straw and doing cotton ball races across the floor, blowing in musical instruments. As annoying as recorders are, they are really great for that proprioceptive input and calming our bodies. Actually, maybe not calming the parents, but thick smoothies. Like, parents can really set their kid up for success in the morning by allowing some big muscle movement, giving them a thick smoothie where they're using those muscles to suck that thick smoothie through the straw, and then sending crunchy snacks in their lunch for school, like raw carrots, where they're really gnawing, really having to use those muscles in their mouth. That sends those, yeah, it stimulates those proprioceptive receptors and sends those calming vibes to the brain that really relax our whole body.
I love OTs so much. You guys have so much fun stuff you get to do.
Thank you.
Oh,
It is fun. It can be a lot. Sensory's a lot, and this is just talking about really one sensory system, proprioception. So there's so much more to consider and think about. But I just wanted parents to know, really, the number one way to regulate your body throughout the day is just having these opportunities to get the proprioceptive input, whether it's big muscles or small muscles or that deep pressure we talked about. It's all really going to help that child be more organized and be able to attend and learn throughout the day.
And I think just, when we were kids, the idea was, like, when we were little, the idea was like we sit and we do and blah blah blah. Things have changed a lot in the last like 30 years. So
Oh no.
I know, in a good way or whatever. I mean, 30.
Yeah, I know. What?
So if you're noticing these kind of signs in your kiddo, like they're really like out to lunch, they're not wanting to do what we need to do right now, it might be a good sign that they might be a little dysregulated.
Right.
So
Yep, that's absolutely right.
So take an opportunity to maybe do a couple of these things. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours, although it could be if you're really feeling it.
Right. I would normally say the heavy work, big muscle movements, I like to say about 20 minutes every couple of hours. But again, we talked about a lot of things that were, small muscle and didn't require as much time and commitment. So, like I said, children can attend for maybe 15 minutes to a half an hour. So really just opportunities to get away from their work and kind of, draw their attention inward and what their body feels and what their body needs to help regulate themselves.
Mm-hmm. And even like as adults, I feel like we can recognize this within ourselves. I know now that my job has shifted somewhat, I can be at my computer for like so long. And then I'm like, I gotta move. I gotta go. I'm getting real weird. I can't focus anymore. So even just getting up and like, I don't know, throwing a load of laundry in and like taking my dog out, just getting up and moving and getting some input that way. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Right.
So naturally that would also be occurring in our children. So if we kind of frame it in that way, it's pretty logical. So,
Right.
yeah. So make sure you all are kind of taking a little bits of this and building it into your day. And plus it's fun.
It is. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So fun and necessary.
Absolutely. Agreed. Is there anything else you would like to share with us? This is Jonathan Van Ness always talks about this at the end of their podcast about, this is like the time in yoga class where you get like the last 10 minutes to just do whatever feels right for you. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with us today?
Really, I'd like to just briefly talk about fidgets, because that is one way that a lot of parents, a lot of teachers, they're using these fidgets and similar tools to help the kids feel more regulated and relaxed. And I want to say overall, I think when done properly, they can be a really great thing. So my recommendations often are things like specialized seating. So like a wobble stool or a ball chair or inflatable chair cushion that helps, allows a child to move and wiggle a little bit in their seat. or an exercise band that goes across the chair legs that they can bounce their legs on, again, if they need to move a little bit more. We talked about like the lap pad that gives some extra pressure. There's also weighted pencils, and we talked about fidgets, like my favorite being those fidgets that provide that resistance and give us some proprioceptive input as well. But there are so many out there. There are so many options, and sometimes I see kids that have 7 tools thrown at them. And really my recommendation is just try one thing at a time, because every kid is so different. What they prefer, what they like to use, and what is useful and beneficial to them, it's going to be different from child to child, maybe even day to day, hour to hour. So just one thing at a time, see what's working, and then you can build up from there. But don't expect everything to work. That's just, fidgets are less consistent than something like, getting that proprioceptive input through big muscle play. So that's my one thing about fidgets. I think they can be just the most incredible tool throughout the day, but it will take some time to figure out what works best for your child.
Ooh, that was good. I I know that the fidget spinners have been like real prevalent in the education community. So I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah. Things like the spinners can really do the opposite for some kids. They can just be a distraction. So you just have to figure out what's really going to work for your child.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for imparting so many ideas on us. I really appreciate it.
I know it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's good. I love this. Where can people find you and when they need to find you?
Great. I am on Facebook and Instagram, just at Sensational Steps Therapy. I'm in a transition period with my website. I am still on a Google page site, but you can also reach me email, sensationalstepsot@gmail.com. Message me on social media, whatever works best for you with questions, or you want to talk more about any of these things. I love talking about regulation. So either of those platforms, and I'm also on OutSchool right now. I offer a few classes for regulation, a sensory motor class, and a handwriting and movement class. So obviously I really like that regulation piece. So you can find me on there. I believe it's under Kaylee Stearns.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. And Kaylee will be back, I'm sure, to chat with us about more things because, as mentioned, we love OTs here. So
thanks. And I'll be back because I love speech. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you later.